Oh, it did it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to wasmCloud Wednesday for Wednesday, November the 6th. This will be our final community meeting until we will be at KubeCon in next week. So just a general reminder that next week's wasmCloud Wednesday will probably be a little bit more abbreviated. We usually try to take the call from the conference floor. We'll get as many, wasmCloud maintainers and contributors and fans on the stream, but it'll probably be a pretty abbreviated meeting. We'll give some insights and a rundown of how the conference has gone, though there probably won't be. There may be, our booth demo, but there probably won't be a longer demo or any long form discussions on wasmCloud roadmap items, at least for next week. So just a heads up, that is what we'll be working on. So going to the agenda for today, I have a quick fun demo for you to show some of the improvements that's going to come to a later page in our quick start. And then I want to do a rundown about ContribFest and WasmCon and KubeCon. So like where we're going to be. If you're going to be in Salt Lake City, where can you find us, and what are the talks you should make sure are on your schedule, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's been some discussion and some testing and some community feedback around Windows as a development target for wasmCloud. And I really want to just give us some time to talk about that during the call. More detail as that comes up, I think, but nothing there yet. So we'll have a little bit of discussion time, but we're not trying to make any strict decision right now. So I think what we can do is go ahead and go right into we can go right into the demo. So let me change my share here to not that to the terminal. So you all should be able to see it. No transition to light mode. But what I have here is actually the initially cloned TinyGo Hello World template, and I've basically gone through the quick start using this template. So what I have as actual component logic is an HTTP handler, and then it will parse the query parameter for name out of the URL using just the Go request type. And then what we'll do with the generated WASI key value bindings is open up a key value store and then increment the value at that named counter. We love this demo, the key value counter demo. It's just good to show a couple of capabilities in action. And this is kind of the end state of the wasmCloud Quick Start. So I was going through testing with washdev, all that fun stuff. So that is this code. If you wanted to end up with this same exact endpoint, you can go through the wasmCloud Quick Start as well. That sounds like it was an ad for the Quick Start, but that's not really what this demo is about. So if we run, let me just check something real quick. Great. If we run washdev for this component, and this may or may not be your first time seeing washdev in action, what it will do is build the component with wash build, which under the hood is using TinyGo build targeting WASI P2. And then it will inspect that component. So what our library is actually doing is a wash inspect with of this WebAssembly component. And looking at this set of interfaces that are in the component, we can see that we have WASI key value. We have a ton of built-in, well, it's not supposed to do that, but a ton of built-in interfaces that Wash knows that wasmCloud will satisfy just at the host level, and then an export for WASI HTTP. So looking at this, we know we need a key value provider and an HTTP provider. But all you see for washdev is, hey, now you can curl localhost 8000 and get a result. So great. I can curl this component now just from running washdev. If we're a keen observer may see that we have the detected dependencies for HTTP server and key value NATs. And if we take a look at our Wash app, oh, hey, we got this now. If we take a look at our Wash apps, we can see that we have one application deployed here. And looking at the actual manifest that we've generated, this is what washdev outputs. We are running the NATS key value provider. Thank you, Masood, for contributing this. The HTTP server capability provider, and then we're linking that all up accordingly so that we can just run this one component. So this is great. So this goes through the first 2 pages of our quick start. We have this app that's basically receiving these requests and then incrementing a counter in a key value store. Now, this is actually storing key value. It's using our HTTP server, so it just opens up the localhost 8000 address, and then any request will get sent to this component. That's the configuration that washdev generates. And then for our key value store, we are actually using NATS. So I can use the NATS CLI to get the value in the wasmCloud bucket called community. And we can see that that is our, incremented counter. Increment it one more time. NATS kv get. This is how we're persisting this key value store. So let's say instead of using NATS, and this is what's coming to the 3rd page of the wasmCloud Quick Start, we wanted to use Redis instead. Now, washdev is generating this manifest, this application declarative manifest to create this application. What we can actually do, and huge kudos to Victor on the wasmCloud or on the wash maintainer side for implementing this. We can implement a washdev interface override. So for all WASI key value version 020 draft imports that a component has, instead of deploying the NATS key value provider, we can instead deploy the Redis key value provider. And then we can specify some configuration here as well, saying, hey, you can connect to localhost. I'm not sure if you can see down here in the bottom of my terminal, but I'm actually already running Redis. I just had it set up for the demo. So after changing that in the wasmCloud.toml, we can run washdev. This will, rebuild our component, take a look at the dependencies. It's actually the same list as before. But if we take a look at I need to use the new one. If we take a look at the actual application now, we can see that we do have our component as before, but we're actually targeting a custom WASI key value atomics and store, which is our overridden image reference, and then this set of configuration that we provided to make sure connect on localhost. So once we do this, we can send the same curl command, and you can see that our counter is kind of reset. And if we check the NATS kv bucket, that is still there. We don't clear this out between runs, but you can also do a Redis CLI get community and see our new for value. So just by writing these couple of lines in the wasmCloud.toml, we can actually override that automatically assumed dependency with a different capability provider. And this is really powerful because not just for overriding dependencies during your developer loop. So if you're more used to a Redis workflow with key value and maybe writing some tests along with that, you can use this. You can totally you can override this dependency with the local development platform that you want to build with. And then as soon as you get to implementing your own custom capabilities, as soon as you implement your own custom capabilities or have custom interfaces that you want to use in your application, washdev will actually pick this up out of the box and deploy that infrastructure for you. So I think that there is more than just the quick start for us to, I think there's more than just the quick start in terms of updating our documentation to show how to best take advantage of washdev. And this will be a very nice way to kind of configure your local development platform. Ritesh has some pretty great questions here in the chat, actually. That was all that I had for the demo, so questions are great now. Is this the direction wasmCloud is going, abstracting WADM by adding config in the wasmCloud.toml? This is a great question, Ritesh. What I want to point you to is the issue that Taylor filed earlier this year, which is the WashDev v2 issue. This was where we, initially did an RFC and a brainstorm about what this new WashDev should look like. Not just a hot reload loop, but generating this WADM manifest and then deploying your local platform. What modifying the Backing up just a little bit. The two files that you use to configure a wasmCloud project are the wasmCloud.toml, which historically contains all the information that Wash needs to know in order to build your component or capability provider. And then the wadm.yaml, which contains all of the information that a wasmCloud set of infrastructure needs to run your application. So we kind of had this build configuration and then run configuration. And looking at WashDev, I think what we realized is that really during the development loop, you shouldn't have to edit a declarative manifest. You shouldn't have to set up this YAML manifest for your application, especially when working with a set of dependencies that we already know the infrastructure that you need deployed for it to work. So I wouldn't quite say that the direction that we're going for running runtime or for runtime information is going to be moving that into the wasmCloud.toml. I see it more like the wasmCloud.toml is the place where you can configure your application locally for build information, for configuration to say, when I'm testing, I want to test on this port instead locally. But the output of this is always still an application manifest that you can then take and deploy in a different environment. That is another thing that I can actually show just really quickly here. All these overrides we use for WashDev to work during the developer loop, but you can also pass this flag manifest output dir, I believe, where as soon as this WADM manifest is generated, it will just be written out to this current directory, and that's what you can deploy in the future. Ritesh, oh yeah, Liam.
Ritesh, I'd maybe add to that. I think that there are sort of three different things that I would want to keep in mind here. The first is that we'll always want to support a declarative specific TOML file that you can check into your into a GitHub as part of a declarative record for how was an application configured at a point in time. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we want to enable this really frictionless experience that you're seeing here to take complexity out of the day one experience and to just let developers get to work. We've created this idiomatic experience for Go, so you can just take Go code and compile, and delve works and breakpoints work, and all the sort of complaints we've had about WASM, now are just not there. But finally, what I think this is starting to lead us to is in a world where wasmCloud can have configurable default capability providers. And what that is still a distant world for us in the future. But imagine being able to launch it and say, if I'm running locally, I'm going to use a lightweight KV that's backed on NATS and a lightweight SQL that's backed on NATS, as like development tools. But when I'm running in production, in your on-prem, you could be configured to use, Couchbase and something else. If you're running in AWS, you're using Elasticache and, somewhere else. So it's starting to get us to a world where we do the right thing by default TM in all cases. But it's really balancing those two desires of, ease of use on day one, which is what you see today working just fine with WashDev. But fully supporting, a declarative TOML file. Ritesh, did you want to respond to any of that?
Yeah, yeah. So this is great. So now I have two ways of, for example, doing this. Previously, when I had to use a key-value store, I thought even the previous approach was pretty easy because I just had to swap the link in the WADM. Now, it's fewer entries here, all right, and I can just update wasmCloud.toml. So, this is a lesser number of entries and lesser, smaller, separate section. It's a separate section that I have to update. So obviously, I'll be motivated to just update wasmCloud.toml, right, going forward for things like this. Now, what I'm trying to figure out is, in the platform that I'm building based on wasmCloud, uh, so there are some things where I have to update the wasmCloud wadm, right? Wadm.yaml. And there are things like this where I could also, use wasmCloud.toml. So I'm trying to answer this question to myself. When do I, yeah, update the wasmCloud.toml, and when do I have to actually update the wadm?
Yeah, Ritesh, I think it's a great question. I think that your position in running the platform um, does give you that choice. I personally see the Wasm Cloud Automl being more of the place where the developer can add in their own configuration and the way that they prefer to test their
Okay.
component locally. I actually still and I think I would love to do a better job of or I'd love to make sure that this works for your use case, surfacing the logic that we have in Wash Dev, where we can look at a component's dependencies and generate a manifest from it.
Okay,
Make
I
that something that's
understand. I think now I understand
yeah,
it better. So you're providing this as a way to override what is in the bottom, right? Okay, that's good.
right.
So okay, so that makes sense because okay, I was kind of initially I didn't interpret it correctly, but now what it looks like is a component will have a WADM, but locally if a developer wants to override the behavior, use a particular different uh, link locally, he could just use the wasm cloud.toml and still see that. That's a good way actually to do it, because yeah, now what Liam mentioned makes absolute sense, because in production I could have a different key value store, and here I could have something totally different. And this actually, obviously in future, if we extend it beyond development, now when we go to AWS or Google Cloud, we could swap it just in the wasm cloud dot toml, and we can keep the base wadam the same, right? So
That's
yeah,
exactly right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and the experience came from that exact opportunity of of the experience of writing it to run across multiple clouds. We sort of had this realization that hey, this is a really common use case, and it would be great if we got to that point in the future where we have default capability providers for everything that are configurable. Like maybe it's just a setting that you set when you deploy wasm cloud in a particular environment, or that you load wasmCloud within a particular environment. And it would just give you the sort of context-aware capabilities for what you're doing. Very powerful, and the power comes from, hey, I have a single WADM that now is uniquely pluggable across all the places. Now, I do think it is important, though, that you can still specify those or tightly couple those if you choose to. And again, the way that we envision this working is, regardless of what's happening here in the local build loop in Wash Dev, the developer is going to push their code into the upstream GitHub, where a GitHub action can then assemble the sort of desired wasmCloud TOML file at that time. So you would still, if you're the platform engineering team working with your application development teams, you still maintain custody and control and that tight that ability to really drive where things are going.
Yeah, thank you, Liam.
Yeah, thank you, Ritesh. Um, all right. Other questions? I think we got a couple more minutes for questions. Are there other questions on the Wash Dev or interface override experience? All righty.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, oh. Thanks, Masood. Yeah, to show you all maybe concretely where this slots into our quick start on this third page here, the extend and deploy. What actually happens on this page is you kind of break out of the wash dev loop and you output the manifest that wash dev generates, and then you actually edit the YAML to add in your key value dependency. This is what you do today. However, with the new wash dev interface override feature, this whole bit of outputting YAML, editing YAML, making sure it's configured correctly, making sure you use the right link, all of that is taken care of by our developer experience tooling. So I think there's going to be a huge uplift for just going through these initial couple of steps while still getting the same value of doing that loose coupling of capabilities. Just add in these couple lines in the TOML and then call it good. Um, yeah, I think that's all that I had there. Please feel free to just raise your hand if you have any other questions. I think I would like to maybe reorder some of these agenda items just really quick, only because the second item on ContribFest and the last item on wasmCon and KubeCon are very closely related. So I figure we might as well just do them at the same time. Now, for now, I think we might as well skip over to Windows as a development target for wasmCloud. We've had some discussions in the community Slack over there's questions in the live stream. Sorry, I will check it. Thank you, live streamers. Okay, I will actually probably parking lot is what we call it for putting it in the end of stand up, but I might just stack push on these really quick if that's okay. I think that these are some questions that we can point to documentation, but would fit really well in our general community time here at the end of the call. So thank you, Vijay, for the questions. So around the previous point, there's been some discussion, and there was a bug reported and some developer experience comments about our Windows experience as a development target for wasmCloud. And as you go through our documentation, we have different tabs and different setups for making sure that if you're on Linux, Mac, or Windows, you can get the wasmCloud toolchain installed. You can run capability providers that are native binaries that are built for the x86, like PC, Windows, MSVC target. So you can run those capability providers locally. And we also run our unit testing suite, of course, on the Windows target. So we've done a lot of diligence in keeping this Windows as an OS maintained. I think that we've done an okay job. Some concerns that have come up over the past couple of months are things like our use of Chocolatey to install Wash. I think one of the things that is starting to become more and more apparent is that none of the core wasmCloud maintainers are actually working on Windows as a primary development environment. Actually, Ahmed, I haven't asked you personally, so chime in if I'm wrong, if you're on Windows. But we're not actually exercising these flows on our local environment. Like every once in a while, Taylor and I at least will pull out our Windows machine from the corner and dust it off and run through some flows for wasmCloud. So, in the same interest that drove us to remove the package manager Snapcraft, which again none of us were using or are able to adequately maintain, I wanted to get some community feedback before making any moves here around Windows, not WSL Windows as a development environment. So just a quick survey. Does anyone here use Windows as their primary development machine? Use Windows to write WebAssembly components? This is obviously a smaller sample size and won't fully and will not fully, capture the sample size of what we want to take into account here. But what I'm really struggling with as a project maintainer is our ability to say that the Windows development experience is on the same par as Linux and Mac when we don't have those development flows being used often. You know, we try to cover it in tests, we try to make sure that it works, but it is easier for things to slip through the cracks. So what I'm looking for feedback on and what I'm proposing as a straw man is essentially moving Windows to be a tier two target for development environments for wasmCloud. And the tier two, tier one nomenclature has different meanings in different projects. Like Rust has tier one, tier two, and tier three targets that have varying levels of support. I think that it's still important for us to publish wasmCloud binaries and capability providers that run on Windows because there are legitimate deployment environments that run on Windows. I mean, even more so than Mac. Like it's Linux by a long shot, and then Windows as well. But what I would like to propose is that in our documentation for Windows users, we encourage people to go down the path of installing, you know, Ubuntu on WSL and use that Linux subshell for a better wasmCloud experience. The main reason that I'm interested in doing this is because I think it would be better for us to focus on providing a very nice experience on what we see the majority of our project users on Linux and Mac, and not provide a subpar experience on something that we're not testing as consistently. So I would love to just kind of open up the floor for any additional comments. This is a full, I mean, this is a community discussion, so just looking to get some feedback on that.
You know, I talk. I didn't raise my hand. You know, I think you said it. It depends on how many in the community of the users are using the platform, because the effort that to put into not only, packaging the application for that, but also making sure that everything works on that platform is considerable, and has to be justified properly, right? So I think from a community perspective, but because I'm not a Windows user, I think as a member, I think it's a right move. And I see also in the enterprise environment, WSL being used heavily for users that are on Windows. So I mean, a lot of developers are already familiar, I assume, with using that environment to do development, to do modern development, put it that way.
I think what I'd like to propose here is that we document how to use WSL, right? Because in theory, we shouldn't have to do too much more, but it would be great to make sure people understand that there is a path to success using WSL. So new users who are completely new to everything can get it going. I actually did that yesterday, not documenting it, but recording the steps to do it, and got to success. So I know it's possible. And so I think I would like to document that. And then I would propose that then we would potentially just deprecate the way that we're packaging for Choco and Scoop, because those are actually not cool anymore. We are like, that was cool 3 years ago when I think they were created, but now you're supposed to do this with Winget, and I don't think we, the maintainers, have cycles to add new stuff, although we do have a good first issue for that. So I think what I would propose, in addition to that stuff, is we set the Windows support to community maintained, and kind of like clearly signposts that we recommend WSL on Windows, and we'll continue supporting and maintaining that. But the other routes are a little bit rougher, and maybe not as frequently used.
I think that sounds very reasonable. Um, I think one thing that I didn't mention in my original proposal is that um, this is not just a request for a comment. This is also somewhat a cry for help. We are completely willing to keep this kind of support in wasmCloud. I mean, WebAssembly is built to be cross-platform. So like the application component can run on any operating system, right? This is completely an ask out there as well for additional open source maintainership on the Windows side. I think we would be happy to keep something like this as a higher level of support with more of a subject matter expert on the Windows side on our maintainer team. So this is a general call to action. If folks have that Windows experience, if you've set up packages in WinGet before and you feel really passionate about it, would love to work with you on cutting over to that. But that's almost a side point to the original issue. Other comments, questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, folks, for the feedback. Lucas, Masood, actually, Mark, and maybe some other people on the live stream, giving some comments too. I don't think that this is going to. I don't think this is going to result in any drastic action on our part immediately. We'll probably put out a little issue out there for some additional feedback. But I think what we could inspect is for us on the wasmCloud maintainer side, in the spirit of trying to do our best to make wasmCloud the best platform it can be, try to maintain and do fewer things wherever we can. So if we can get people to run on WSL, then and that makes it so that we can do more for wasmCloud, then I think that is probably worth it in the short to medium term. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and close off that discussion, but not forever. Please feel free to reach out to me or just, well, you can tag anybody on the maintainer side in the wasmCloud Slack if you have thoughts here, like if you're watching the live stream or checking out the recording afterwards. Okay, then I think that leaves us plenty of time to talk about KubeCon and wasmCon. So we are all gearing up really heavily for this event, which is going to be pretty much all next week in Salt Lake City, Utah. We are super excited to see you all there at the event. If anybody's coming to Salt Lake City and wants to meet up with us to talk wasmCloud, talk WebAssembly, talk cloud native, whatever. We actually have a nifty map at the bottom of our show blog that shows exactly where the Cosmonic booth is going to be, which is where some of us will be, and where the wasmCloud booth will be in the CNCF project pavilion. So this is always, and this is where the community meeting will be held from next week, almost certainly. So we're super excited to start off the show, but it's not just booth time. We have a ton of WebAssembly or a ton of wasmCloud talks and workshops and sessions across the conference. So I wanted to give just a couple of minutes to shout those out so that all of you who are attending the conference in various capacities can make sure you mark the really, really cool talks on your schedule and then go to them. So those really cool talks and workshops, starting on Monday at the co-located event, wasmCon. It's actually taking place over 2 days because WebAssembly is just that cool. Right at the beginning of the day, we have a workshop, which is Choose Your Own Adventure WASM Edition, coming from our very own Bailey Hayes and Taylor Thomas. So you get to choose your own adventure with deploying WebAssembly, using wasmCloud, using some Bytecode Alliance WASM native tooling like WASIBird and WASM tools. Basically just a whole grab bag workshop for how to build WebAssembly applications and then deploy them everywhere with wasmCloud. Folks, if I mention a workshop or a talk that you are in and you want to add additional color, just cut me off. The next workshop following pretty much immediately after. So you build your component, you're super excited about it. You can roll right into implementing a WASM native database API with Couchbase. This is going to be a collaboration between Victor at Cosmonic and Laurent at Couchbase. We actually collaborated a little bit earlier this year to create a custom set of WIT interfaces for Couchbase. And then specifically running it, you could run it technically on any WASM runtime, but running that on wasmCloud. So Victor and Laurent are going to take us through the design of those interfaces, what it looks like to design a WIT interface for your project, and then talk fundamentals of the interface definition language, best practices in designing WIT. And I think this is going to be one of the most well-attended sessions because there are generally a lot of questions as with any IDL, which is like, what is the best way to structure this? What do I call my package, et cetera, et cetera. So that should be great. Moving on to the talks later on in the day. There's going to be a talk from Colin Murphy, who is at Adobe, but is also a wasmCloud maintainer, and Doug from Akamai. They're going to be talking about their adoption of, well, Colin, if you want to do a spiel, you definitely can. Adoption of WebAssembly. No.
You're doing a great job. Cool. You're doing a great job.
Adoption of WebAssembly, wasmCloud, and WebAssembly components, and then deploying it all over the place on Akamai's network. So this one is going to be really exciting as a real world use case. Speaking of real world use cases, there's a user talk later in the day for elevating serverless platforms with WASM components, with Ritesh, who you heard from a little bit earlier in the community call, and Vamsi from American Express. They're going to be talking about WebAssembly and wasmCloud in a FAS style environment. This one, I think, is going to be a must-make talk that is, it's a must-make talk. It's not, I think, it's a must-make talk. Moving on to Tuesday, right in the beginning of the day, again, we're going to have a panel for playing safely in the sandbox. We've got some industry giants from the WebAssembly ecosystem, and then equally giant, our own Bailey Hayes, again, the Wasm Queen herself, coming in on the panel. She went off video. Sorry, I'm taking too, okay, whatever. This one is going to be, I think that the panels really are always some of the most interesting discussions from WASM days, because it brings people together to ask some of the good questions, some of the hard questions about like how this is trending in industry. So should be very fun. Talk about playing in the sandbox. We'll have a maintainer talk from Roman and Taylor on the Cosmonic side, but Roman, the lead maintainer and creator of the WIT RPC or WRPC project, and Taylor Thomas, who has been a long time wasmCloud maintainer, are going to talk distributed components. This is something that wasmCloud, of course, is built around, is kind of out of scope of the component model as is. And in my opinion, one of the coolest things that I get to interact with when writing wasmCloud applications. It's awesome. I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff for this talk, and yeah, you're gonna wanna hit this one too. Just as a note, I think all of these will be, not I think, again, these will be published to the CNCF YouTube under the WasmCon like playlist after the event. They're usually really quick to come out, but as soon as they are actually released, of course, we'll make sure to shout those from the rooftops to tell you all about it. Community talk again from Taylor. He just can't stop getting talks for call it Contain Yourself, WASM, and the OCI spec, which is from Taylor here, and then James from Microsoft, which you all have heard a lot about us talking about WASM package tools, us talk about packaging WebAssembly as OCI artifacts, and I think that this is going to be, this one is at WasmCon. This is going to be one of the more well-attended talks from folks who are from the cloud native space, because integrating into the OCI standard has, I think, just been a great uplift for WASM. All right, moving on, we will have me doing the wasmCloud Project Lightning Talk. This is something that we get, it is a privilege for us as a CNCF project to have 5 minutes on the main stage to talk about our project, what's new. I did it for the first time in Europe earlier this year, and there were a ton of people who came and attended, which was great. So you all, I think, probably are already up to date with the things I'll talk about in this talk, but it's a good chance to show off wasmCloud on the broader stage. On Observability Day, on the co-located event, Victor is going to be talking about OpenTelemetry in WebAssembly. And as far as I understand it, the demo for this one is coming along as a really cool demo. I can't say anything else, no spoilers, something. But this one is looking really neat. Of course, we've had OpenTelemetry implemented at the wasmCloud host level for a long time, but this is more. This is the holy grail, not just implementation. So check that one out. And then I'm going to skip the ContribFest just for now because it deserves its own mention. But I'm going to have a little talk at the end of the day on Thursday about multi-tier security in wasmCloud. This one goes all the way through the journey of a developer just wanting to write code to the platform engineer who is providing a platform for people to run WebAssembly all on wasmCloud. I'm going to be talking about what we've seen people be successful with inside of their organizations. I'm going to be talking about the different layers of pluggable security you can tap into with wasmCloud. There are many, and I think this should be a really fun talk on the security track. And my only hope is that my persona as a developer can properly speak to the people on the security track. I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. WebAssembly is cool and secure. Okay. Finally, I want to give a special shout out to the ContribFest session, which I was ecstatic to be a part of proposing this to the conference. This is another benefit that CNCF projects can apply for. And the wasmCloud one was accepted, which is huge because this ContribFest is a session. It's 90 minutes for us to get in a room with maintainers, with contributors, with people who are interested in WebAssembly. And essentially here we get to have two tracks within this ContribFest. People can build WebAssembly components and contribute them as examples that are completely based in WASM standards. And people who want to contribute to our Rust or Go core code for wasmCloud, we're going to have a whole set of good first issues that are handpicked, ready for the taking, and all of us will kind of be walking. All of us will kind of be walking around like TAs in that session. So it will be a good homage to my TA days. But I'm really excited to get a bunch of people in the room working on wasmCloud. They say that this session is for tackling technical debt, which I will be happy to do some of that if we can. But I just want to point out the other kinds of projects that are in the ContribFest sessions. Like it is very a huge privilege to be there as wasmCloud. I mean, putting us on the same kind of the same level ballroom as a backstage, as a helm, as a well, let's see, that's a eBPF project, as people who are working on Istio or on OpenTelemetry. This is huge. I'm super excited to do this session. So absolutely make sure to show up for ContribFest. We might have a little bit of a virtual component for that, question mark, unsure. But this one will be something that if you're there at the conference, please come and see us and write some code. Should be fun. That I think is all that I had for the conference. There's going to be a ton of exciting things going on next week. Tons of demos, tons of talks, the ContribFest. Just keep in mind that many of us on the wasmCloud maintainer side will be there wowing people in person. So we might be slightly slower to respond in Slack and all that fun stuff. So I think that's it. I've been talking for a long time. Liam, Bailey, anything else that I missed, Caroline, from the conference roadmap?
I think the biggest thing is while we're running Contrib Fest, it would be really great to have the wasmCloud community be a part of that and help us out. We're gonna need your help. I think there's gonna be a lot of people, and we are gonna be outnumbered. And I think there's gonna be a lot of issues filed.
Yeah, I would double down on that and mention that if you wanted to volunteer or work at the wasmCloud booth as a part of the community, we will have your T-shirts there for those folks that have ordered one. We haven't shipped them yet because we are waiting on some exclusive wasmCloud swag that is in theory coming to Taylor's house any day now. So we're going to bundle those up. If you can't make it to KubeCon to pick yours up, just let us know. Well, you don't need to do anything else. If you're not there, you will get your shipped in the mail if you've already registered for one. So we're super excited. The T-shirts look great. It's the platform for platform engineering T-shirts, which are phenomenal. Some handouts and then some stickers and swag for you as well. So, and there's plenty of other opportunities through WasmCon. If you're looking to volunteer, we could certainly use some help there as well. So just let us know. Look forward to meeting a lot of you face to face next week.
Brooks, did you say the plan that we have for next week's community call?
I think so, just at the beginning, but yeah. Reiterate, will likely be a light community call. We'll be on the shop show floor. So I will probably yell at this Zoom among the commotion, tell you about how the conference has been, and then peace out. So next week will be pretty light, but we will be here. We're always here on Wednesday.
I'm gonna try to snag as many wasmCloud people that I recognize to be in your background and just like do stuff.
We got to get people the shirts. Well, it'll be on Wednesday. So we have Monday, Tuesday, get in the shirts. Make sure to wear your shirt for wasmCloud Wednesday.
Brooks, how many years has it been? I mean, it's been we have to roll back the clock here to see, but I want to say that we just crossed our 3-year anniversary for live meetings with wasmCloud, which is pretty amazing. Every Wednesday, haven't missed one. Even the day it fell on Christmas, we were still here, which was a little crazy.
Yeah, I think wow, Liam, we're actually about to come up on 4 years next week.
4 years next week? Are you kidding me? That's insane, Brooks.
The very first WASC community call, wasmCloud's old name, was on November 18th of 2020.
Wow.
Fun times.
Talking about.
You look like a baby.
Yeah. Wow.
Baby Brooks. Here, I'm gonna share my screen.
Yeah, that was me like 4 apartments ago.
There you go.
Oh, look at that. We were talking about WASI namespace or WASI networking. We got that now. Cool.
Yeah, we got all
Damn, how old are you?
Wait, was
now,
this
Brooke?
this might have been the first demo of the Wash CLI and in this community meeting. Wow. Blast to the past.
Yeah.
Was that like fresh out of college, something like that? Damn, you look like you're so young there.
I know.
This is meeting number 207. Next week is meeting number 208. What a fitting time. We'll be at KubeCon for our 4th year anniversary. That's a cool data point. 4 years ago we had our first public community meeting. It means we unveiled it then was that Seattle for KubeCon US right before that, or was it even a whole year before that even? All year before that. That was when we did our first public demos of the future of computing. WebAssembly core components existed. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, so cool.
Long time.
It always kills me because Bailey definitely came up to the Capital One booth at that KubeCon in San Diego. And somehow I do not think I was there at the time to talk WASM. Very sad.
Wait until, I don't know if you're the youngest one in your team, but wait until that's no longer true. You look back, you're like, what happened? What just happened?
I used to have long hair.
Yeah.
I have hair.
I used to be in that camp because I started like around 19, like actually professionally. Then out of nothing, it's like, wait. Am I teaching others? Why are you just younger than me? That feels weird.
Hmm. Well, we'll make sure to we got to do a little shout out next week for 4 years of wasmCloud weeklies.
I'll bring the party hats.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Lost my train of thought. I think that's it. Got a couple more minutes. Do folks have general wasmCloud questions, things that they wanted answered, or topics from the broader WebAssembly community that they wanted to bring up in the free time? Just raise your hand or talk. I'm just gonna go on mute for a second. All right, folks. Then I think we can go ahead and let everybody get back to slinging slides and preparing demos for next week.
Yep.
Masood will be very sad to miss you there, but there will be a WASM event somewhere in the near future that we'll get to meet up. Then I think that's it. Well, we'll go ahead and call it for this week. Thank you so much for coming to the wasmCloud community meeting, and we'll see you next week from the show floor, and then the week after, and then the week after, and the week after. All right, everyone. Have a wasmCloud day.
Hey, Liam,